Well, folks, it's New Year's Eve 2024. 2024 was a wild, crazy year. Not the best year I can remember. It was pretty nasty for all the reasons that you've seen on your screens for the last 365 days. What a mess. And I think it's highly probable that 2025 is going to be even crazier without going into any reasons why. The list is long. There's mountains of data to support the veracity. The list, all those reasons, evidence-based, science-based. Oh my God. My friend sent me a note with a kind of a meme, a Christopher Hitchens meme about hell. And he said, another reason why I don't believe in hell, and I don't believe in hell either, at least the supernatural hell. I don't believe in that at all. Hell is on earth, and hell comes from people. I don't think ants make moral judgments. I don't think my cats make moral judgments. I don't think the goshawks and the falcons around here make moral judgments. The trees. I don't think nature does, except in the mysterious context of human consciousness. You can come up with a lot of stories about where consciousness comes from and what it is. And if it's a godly thing, then the hell comes from God because we invent it, we create it. We create all the horror and the madness. So, yeah, I don't believe in hell, but it sure seems like there is hell on earth for some people. I'm lucky. I'm kind of heaven on earth person. I've just been lucky for a lot of reasons, and I don't know what to thank for that. Star stuff, God, Jesus, I don't know. But I am thankful, and I got through another year, so I'm staying alive. In some ways, New Year's can be seen as kind of a birthday, in a way, because it's the beginning of a calendar year, social construct, or winter solstice. You know, maybe I can do a Bacchus thing on January 6th instead of a presidential inauguration thing. I hope that next year is good for you and yours. I was also thinking on this hell thread about a sim. You know, if Nick Bostrom and his ilk are right, we're living in a sim. You've been pilled one way or the other for some reason. Do you have agency? Do you have free will? Why did you take the red pill? Why didn't you take the black pill, the blue pill, the gray pill? Anyway, it's all nonsense, all stories. But anyhow, believe what you will, because it feels good to believe something or another. Anyways, so we're a sim, right? So all the bobs that I wrote about in my last post have been put on SSD drives on a starship, and thanks to Vivek and Elon, thanks to the Doge team, have been shipped up to Mars, and they're deep underground in some cavern, you know, on Mars, on a server. They've been, you know, uploaded onto servers. So your sim immortal self, finally you're in heaven. What's creative about a sim, right? Are you going to go onto the server and create war games, like computer games, you know, Fast and Furious, action and all that? Or are you going to peacefully live like some indigenous, you know, utopian tribe, Dunbar number tribe, in some idyllic natural setting on the server? What's the sim gonna be? what kind of sim are you going to create? And who creates the sim? You have this infinite regress anyway, always. So, who created the sim? Who created the creator of the sim? Who created the creator of the creator of the sim? And you go back, try to figure it all out. But I'm just wondering, since if we created a sim, and there's an infinite number of simulated universes that could happen for some reason. And forget about all the existential crises. Who cares, right? These thought experiments shouldn't freak you out. They're just interesting to think about. But I wonder, if we created a sim, would there be hell in it? Hell on earth? Would there be genocide? Would there be bouncing the rubble? Would there be chemical and nuclear warfare? Wars of attrition, fought over whatever? Would there be nation states? Would there be games of thrones? Things like that.
And the grand sim creator loved his digital being so much, he created peak oil.
I'm guessing if it came from us as we are today, as we have evolved to become within civilizational context, in 2024, there would be hell on earth, hell on sim. You put the hell right on that, whatever it is. If it's not silicon, whatever it is, that medium, all those switches and algorithms that run the sim. And who maintains the damn thing? You're going to have robots up there in the caverns on Mars, that are AI robots programmed to maintain the servers, and then you need energy for the servers, right?
And he also created the faith that there would be new sources of energy that would make peak oil not a thing anymore, and that they would have energy to run their servers forever and ever.
You gotta figure that out. You gotta have your little, fusion plant to power the servers. We look at the universe, we kind of know what it is. It's pretty damn big. If we're the only thing in the universe, why is it so damn big? You could have made a much smaller universe, like one galaxy, and put an Earth there, Goldilocks Earth, and put your brilliant human beings on that Earth so that they could learn from whatever. It's all kind of silly, It really is, if you think about it. So down here they got something going on, man. They're moving dirt, it seems like. No. Agricultural stuff. So this is where we could play petanque, and you can have your burgers. You can make your BBQ right here. It's very nice. I'm gonna move over here now. Yeah. So, right. So, you've got your sim, don't you? You got your sim? Anyway, whatever works. People are going to create an autobiographical story about themselves because that's what we do. That's part of how memory works. And we're going to have a narrative that we're going to tell ourselves and tell other people. And it's going to make us feel good. It's going to make us feel better about things, give our lives meaning and whatnot. And we're going to borrow a lot of elements from other stories to plug into our story. And these other stories come from our culture, our background, our experience, books we've read, and so on and so forth. Our imaginations, however limited or vast, our creativity, however limited or innovative, whatever. And so, yeah, it's like these people, if people think that Curtis Yarvin's in J.D. Vance's ear, then he's got nothing between his ears. Because there's nothing there. There's no there. No plan, no purpose, no structure, no system that would work long term or even short term for most people. So as our energy dwindles year by year, our oil and gas resources, things are going to get more and more difficult. Things are going to heat up more and more. That's just the way it is. And we are going to be the stories that we tell ourselves. And I suppose some people don't have to make up hell because they're living in it. And the rest of the West will just stand idly by and watch like it's some spectacle and do absolutely nothing to stop it, because we don't care about people in the rest of the world. We don't care about people on the other side of the street, down the road a piece. We tell ourselves we care, but we don't want to be around them. We have the internet now, so having relationships with people is too much work. Someday circumstances will dictate that we need to have relationships with people again, and then we will, because our survival, our well-being, our mental health will be dependent on it. It already is now, but I mean, we just think it doesn't because we can afford a friend, or we can afford to have enough screens in our lives to keep ourselves busy. 2025, boy, it's going to be wild. And somehow I think I just have to keep an eye on it with my tongue in my cheek, with a sense of irony and humor, and watch the show play out, because people are going to talk about it, lots and lots of people, and some people are going to get paid very good salaries to talk about it. And we're going to watch and listen and do absolutely nothing. It will play out the way it plays out. You know, all this stuff with Elon and the president talking to Bibi saying, "Are you the president?" It's so brain dead zombie stupidity. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, real people are suffering. You'll go online and you'll see an advertisement for how to rent tents to homeless people. And all you have to do is buy my $900 course to learn how to do it. Or use AI tools to get rich. Something like that. And the real problems, the deep, dark, dank, dirty problems that are plaguing the world as we kind of move into late-term modernity, modern industrial civilization, are not being addressed at all, even if they're being talked about. You know, this dipshit Doge guy, Vivek, who's a pump and dump scam artist, gets to tell people about education and whatnot, meanwhile trying to privatize the whole educational system in the United States, make it more and more difficult for normal plebs and proles to get a decent education. And then you blame it on them. You blame people for getting fat, and then you give them a drug that can help them lose weight. So it's beyond absurdity. It's ridiculous. You know, you created metabolic syndrome, and then you create drugs to cure it. And these are public companies, and if you invested wisely, you get capital on capital returns, and you're laughing, taking holidays to Portugal and whatnot. And if not, you're just struggling along like most people. It makes me sick to think that people without large enough income can't afford to go to a market or a grocery store and buy whole foods, decent quality food, to cook at home. They don't have time to cook, and they can't afford to buy the ingredients to cook something. So they have to rely on fast foods, which are big public corporations, to eat. And it's not the highest quality diet you could possibly have. Then you get sick and you can't afford health care. You're just getting bled and robbed day in and day out, and you're not going to do anything about it. Because you can't. You're helpless, hopeless, powerless, weak, and it's just too hard too much to ask. And you might have to sacrifice your life to change something, and that's just ridiculous. That makes no sense. So people just keep struggling along and keep working as hard as they can to make ends meet. And it's sad, you know, the single mother eating fast food every night with her kid. And of course, if you have a good job somewhere in Austin, Texas, or Silicon Valley, you can have some service send you your ready-to-cook meals every few days or so you don't have to worry about it. You just come home to a recipe and the ingredients. It costs a little bit of money, but you can afford it. Homelessness is up in the United States, which is also absurd. Why is that? And people are literally in Australia and in the States renting tents to people at exorbitant amounts of money. $1,000 a month for a tent that you have to share with someone. You might as well keep the beds full in prison. At least you'll get some modicum of health care and a library and maybe even a job, even though it pays pennies a day. Anyway, that sounds kind of negative. Where is hell? You don't believe in hell? I know hell exists on earth. I'm not in hell. I'm a lucky man. Depressing message, I know. If we're in a sim, why the hell do we have the problem of evil? Why is there, are there these moral quandaries and ethical quandaries? Why is there pain and suffering? You know, I don't understand that. Why do people obsess and create and produce so much pain and horror? It just is sad, you know. All to defend stories and tribes of people who believe certain things. One sect against another, one nation state against another. And we can't find that commonality, that common human crux that should bring us all together and help us understand and empathize with one another so that we can solve problems and learn how to live even better together than we do now. It's tragic, in my opinion. But anyway, you know, if you're stoic about it, most people have told me for 20 years, there's nothing you can do about it, Stephen, so just don't worry about it. Well, I understand that. I get it. And I don't worry obsessively about it. I don't lose much sleep, I'm ashamed to say. But I still am aware of these things. And the more I learn, the more in focus and detailed my understanding of the human predicament is. And the more I feel like we're just that kind of animal. So I don't know. I want young people to think that they can do something and empower themselves and organize themselves and work together and sit down and talk to each other across boundaries, across us and them fabrications, and come up with some plan of what you can do, you know? Putting your faith in all of these performers, all of these players, these careerist, greedy, you know, I mean, these people are just, you know, they're psychopathic 7 deadly sins on steroids running around, pretending that they care about things when they don't. They care about prestige, they care about their position in the game, they want to stay in the game. It is a game, you know, it's deadly serious, but it is. The great game wasn't just in Afghanistan between the Russians and the Brits, or in Crimea, or anywhere else on earth. It's just this constant competition between people, you know, and at some point it has to end. We can compete in more positive ways, healthier ways. But these stories that are fed to us day in and day out, they're making us sick and stupid. So slow down, read at least 12 books next year. Okay? choose some good books from some good book lists, whatever you fancy. Sit down, relax, read those. Get out in nature, learn more about how nature works. You can't falsify many stories. You can't falsify. They're just stories, myths, right? You can't falsify them. If you're a really disciplined investigative journalist, maybe you can find lines of evidence, documents, photos, interviews with credible people, witnesses, and so on, and tell a story that's accurate, truthful. That's a dying breed of journalism, unfortunately, these days. But if you're, I mean, we just regurgitate and parrot all the stories that we're handed. It's so manipulative, it's ridiculous. But anyhow, you can learn about nature, you can learn about how nature works, and that's pretty damn interesting. And once you learn more and more about that, I mean, yeah, social science is a little bit more squishy. But it's good to know a little bit about psychology and physics, a little bit about mathematics. Even if you can't do the theoretical math, you don't have to. You don't have to be a Eric Weinstein and pretend. You can just admit that you don't know how to do it, but you can listen to and read descriptions and stories from experts in those fields that you can trust and understand more or less how they work. And that's good enough, because we're not going to be experts in every domain that we look at ever. We don't have the time or the intelligence or the memory capacity, even with our tools. But we have great tools now for research and educating ourselves. We better take advantage of it while we can, and also prepare yourself for this long, consistent, constant decline. And don't imagine that there's going to be a perpetual motion machine or mini fusion power generations in your neighborhood anytime soon. And even if that were true, it wouldn't solve our material issues. And it wouldn't make for a peaceful world necessarily. If you could just do fast fashion every day and consume like crazy, you know, everybody just gave you money to spend every day and it was meaningless. You could just consume mindlessly. It still wouldn't lead to a healthy society or world. It would still kill us all. So we're going to have to learn how to live within our limits. And I try to do that as much as possible. Of course, I know my limitations and I'm very limited, so I have to deal with it. But let's cut out a lot of the fantasies and the believing in these stories that we're fed. Be a slight bit more skeptical. Embrace the faith and the beliefs that you find meaningful and necessary for yourself. I wouldn't go against that or advise you to give up things like that are meaningful in your life. But balance that out with learning a little bit about, nature. And have a wonderful 2025. Do your best. Hang in there. It doesn't get any better than this, I don't think, ever. So obviously, if you can make a ton of money, you can insulate yourself from a lot of things, and that'll be good for you. But it's going to be tough. The next 4 years in politics is going to be very, very rough around the world. The geopolitical situation is not looking good. And I'll be very amazed and happy if we don't have a nuclear war in the next 4 or 5 years. I'll be just thrilled. If somehow we can skate by, it'll be great. And my heart goes out to all the victims of war everywhere in the world, all of them, whatever side you're on. And I just can't imagine what these people are going through around the world. It's tragic. But there you go, hell on earth. Happy New Year. Have a good 2025. Boolean T.